All right. Welcome to the Drew Scott Agency Overview. Um, First of all, I just want to say thank you for you taking some time out of your day to hear about what the Drew Scott Agency has to offer. Um, Tell you a little bit about myself and kind of how this came to fruition. Um, and then obviously, the opportunity and the resources that we have available for you. But really, what the Drew Scott Agency is all about is providing systems, education, um, guidance, um, and the specific know-how of how to take your insurance business to the next level, no matter where you're at. Because as I tell you a little bit about my story, you're going to see that I have pretty much worn just about every hat there is to wear in this business. So, without further ado, my name is Drew Scott Ellefson. Scott is actually my middle name, but it just rolls a lot easier, right? Drew Scott just is much cleaner than Drew Ellefson. So, I'm Drew Scott, and tell you a little bit about my journey and kind of where it all started. It started for me in 2005, so over 2 decades ago now. Um, I started selling briefly at a company called American Income Life, and I know that there's definitely somebody out there that understands what that opportunity is all about. I actually love the marketing strategy that AIL has targeting the unions and making it an affinity play. I just love that whole strategy. And I was driving around in less than desirable neighborhoods and areas throughout the Chicagoland area, selling final expense life insurance, till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night sometimes. And I did that for about 90 days. And I came across an opportunity to sell health insurance over the phone in 2005. And I jumped on that opportunity because my thinking behind that was that number one, everybody needs health insurance, right? It was just to me, it just was something that everybody had to have, right? Um, and also, I figured that, if I'm selling over the phone, I would be able to expand my sales territory in places that I was, not willing to drive, right? So I was going to expand my territory dramatically. In fact, I was just thinking that way, but I didn't know that relatively quickly I was going to be selling in other states, right? So that was, my thinking behind that. But also, I was thinking that, how many appointments was I able to run per day? I was sitting in front of one, two, maybe if I was lucky, with a full appointments, schedule for the day, 3, 4 appointments, and maybe making 2 presentations at best. So I figured, if I sat on the phones all day, I could literally hammer out, 10 presentations a day. I could call, 50 people, 100 people a day. So that was my thinking. I could reach more people in a day and I could expand my sales territory beyond where I was willing to drive. Pretty quickly, I became a sales manager with the organization that I was with, and I had a small team of about 6 agents. Over a course of a couple of years, I grew that up to about 30 agents, and we were doing, an average of about 100 apps a week. And that was prior to, adding, all the supplemental products and bundle selling and things like that. I mean, this was just one app per customer, per family, right? One health insurance app. And it was much more straightforward. And back then, selling over the phone, I mean, it was not online applications. In fact, there was a company that went online pretty quickly back then. I'd say probably oh 06, oh 07, they got their application online. But initially, when I was selling over the phone, I mean, we were faxing applications for wet signatures and mailing applications for wet signatures. So the game was, pump out as many applications as possible, fill out as much information as you could, send it to the client, and then cross your fingers that they were actually going to sign the deal and send it back. So, um, so in that fashion, doing about 100 deals a week. I mean, that was that was big money. It was good times. In 2012, I had an opportunity to relocate from Chicago to Tampa, and it was a unique opportunity. There was a TPA in Clearwater, Florida, that was partnering with the state of Ohio at the time, because Ohio was they elected to do their own marketplace, right? Because 2012, what was right around the corner at that point? The Affordable Care Act had already been signed into law, and it was about to take effect in the market in 2014. So in 2012, states, had to make that decision as to whether or not they were going to participate in the federal marketplace or if they were going to do their own state exchange. And Ohio originally decided to do a state exchange, and they partnered with a TPA in St. Pete, Florida. And the TPA had all the pieces of the puzzle, with the exception of distribution, right? So they had, customer service reps, they had HR, they had IT, they had every department you could think of, as a TPA should, right? But they didn't have distribution, they didn't have salespeople. So there was no call center for the people of Ohio to call into and enroll in the health insurance plan. So my mentor had the opportunity to partner with that TPA at the time and come down to Florida and build that call center. And I was the guy that was, fortunate enough to be brought down to Florida and run that call center. So I moved down to Florida in 2012. I spent about 8 months building that agency. Um, I don't know the timeline and how it all kind of, went down, but ultimately Ohio decided not to run their own state exchange. They decided to participate in the federal exchange. So, the the guy who owned the TPA, who now owns an insurance company, and he's done very, very well, and he administers, multiple states for Medicaid and things like that. But he had built this massive call center, right? This 130 station call center for us. And ultimately, what he built that call center for didn't happen, right? So it was just a distribution system. Now we were just doing in Florida what we did, back home in Chicago. So I built that up in over the course of 8 months from about, to about 35 agents. We also had 35 lead generators in house. So we had fronters, right, that were passing transferring the calls over to the agents. And within about a year, a little over a year, we were doing over 750,000 a week in premium. So that operation grew very, very quickly. And my mentor gave me an option in 2013. He looked at me and he said, Drew, you can stay a manager in Florida, and be a sales manager as long as you want, right? You can do this for the rest of your life if you want. He could see that I was really enjoying myself, living in Florida, young guy, making good money. He said, you can stay down here and you can do this, forever. Or you can go back to Chicago, do exactly what you did here up there, and you could be my partner up there. So literally the next day, I was meeting the president of that insurance agency at the office very early in the morning, and I was handing in my resignation, and I was on the road by 7:30 in the morning, heading back to Chicago on a Friday to go into the office in Chicago on Monday and have my partnership with the organization. And I thought I was going to be a partner, right? I was thinking I was going to be a partner. I thought I was going to have some ownership in this business, and it was very exciting for me. And I signed my first business contract, probably my first big mistake. It wasn't really a huge mistake, because it didn't really ultimately lead to anything dramatic, right? But it wasn't what I thought I was getting into, right? Like I had absolutely no say. Really, what it was, what the contract I had was um, it was a profit sharing deal. So I had the opportunity to share in some of the profits, and only in certain pieces of the agency too, not even the entire agency. So I had a profit share on a couple of teams within the agency, which, any good manager uh, should be offered in our business, right? So, but I signed my first business contract. I was making good money. I thought I was, I thought I had made it, right? I built that office up to about 15 agents. We had 12 lead generators. And then I had opened a third location in Dubuque, Iowa. That was about half the size of what we were operating with out of Chicago. So it was a lot of fun building that up. And then in 2014, the ACA, um, you know, became the law of the land. I mean, it was already the law of the land by that point, but it became real, right? It was rolled out in 2014, and the industry was in absolute chaos. I saw I saw guys that had 35 years in this business that were unable to reinvent themselves at the time. And my mentor was included in that. I saw insurance agencies closing the door after over 100 years of being in business. So, I mean, the amount of chaos that took place in 2014 because of the ACA was just absolutely incredible. And at that point, it was very clear that I had to make some decisions on what I was going to do moving forward. Not to mention the fact that I got married in 2014, not to mention the fact that I had my first daughter in 2014. So now here I am in 2014. I'm a newlywed, I'm a new daddy, and I am, on the brink of making a very drastic career change. So I had to decide, right? Am I going to stay in this business or am I going to get out of this business, right? I decided to stay in this business, but that was the time where I had, made the decision um, to expand my portfolio. I'm like, who knows what's going to happen with health insurance? So I might as well learn life insurance. I might as well learn Medicare. If I'm going to stay in this business, that's what I have to do. And there was a senior agency, actually not too far from the agency that I was already working with. It was right across the street, actually, and they were doing final expense, and primarily Medicare, and and I hopped in with them, and I became a top agent, top producing agent like that. I earned my way into a national marketing director role, and um, I was still doing a lot of health insurance business at the time because there was still a need, right? There was still products to sell and make money, and people were more confused than ever. So there was really a big opportunity um, you know, to um, to write business, right, in the health insurance space. So I was doing the life insurance and the senior stuff with the new agency, but I was staying in the health insurance space. And the one thing that the most drastic change that I made in my business at that point was, and mind you, that was when I truly became self-employed too, right? At this point now in 2015, I'm truly self-employed. And one of the most dramatic changes that I made to my business was I expanded my portfolio in the health insurance market, right? Because up until that point, I was basically just selling one insurance carrier. I was selling pretty much one product from that one insurance carrier, and I was using one lead source to sell that one product. And I'll tell you, I had made a lot of money very early on, and we had a lot of success, and we grew a very respectful organization. But you know, when the ACA became the law of the land, it was just like, you have to participate in the marketplace, right? You have to participate in the marketplace, and you have to know what the alternatives are to the marketplace for that clientele that the marketplace doesn't work for. So you essentially become a broker, and that's what I did. I became a broker, and the owner of AFA was the name of the agency that I was with, the senior agency, American Financial Associates. The owners were intrigued by the amount of health insurance business that I was still doing, and they had an idea, to expand, their health insurance business, right? And so I was talking with them at that point on building a health insurance division for them. And Joe Moranto, I met my business partner. His name's Joe Moranto, and he was the number two agent in that organization at the time. So I was number one, he was number two. And him and I are sitting outside one day, he's having a smoke and I'm just, we're shooting the shit together. And he goes, how about I throw some money up and me and you go do something together? Yeah, he's an old school Italian guy from Chicago. So I said, hey, let's do it. Right. And that was it. That was the end of that. Right. And at that point, benefits management team, BMT, my first true agency was born. All right. I was now a true owner of an agency in 2015. So 2015 was the first full year that I was a daddy. It was the first full year that I was married, and it was the first full year that I was truly a business owner. Needless to say, that was the most stressful year of my life. It was very, very difficult year. But when I opened BMT, I went right back to the model that I knew best, which was in-house lead generators and in-house agents. And we actually subleased the office from my mentor because he was having a hard time in the business at that point. As I said, he was one of those guys that was having a hard time reinventing himself. And so I saw that his office was like a ghost town. And I said, why don't I buy the equipment from you, buy the office from you, sublease the office. And that's exactly what we did. So I built that up to about 15 agents and 10 lead generators, a couple customer service reps. And it was a hell of a launch. We had a lot of success early on. Then in 2016, we decided to expand outside of the four walls. And we started to recruit agents all over the country. We went to not just an in-house model, but a remote model. And we just cranked, right? For those few years, we were just pumping recruits. I mean, that was my job at that time. It was recruit, train, support, and in that order: recruit, train, support, recruit, train, support. There's another piece to that phrase, which is recruit, train, support, and shoot the wounded, right? It's recruit, train, monitor, and shoot the wounded. That's the actual phrase. But you didn't have to shoot the wounded in this business, right? The wounded, they shoot themselves. They move on in this business, right? Which is where you might be in this industry. You might be at your wit's end, right? You might be thinking, hey, this, I've tried everything, right? I don't know what the hell to do. I'm not making any money. Stick with it, all right? So I'll get there. So anyway, that was the business. That was the model. We were recruiting, probably on a slow week, 10 agents a week, on a good week, 15 agents. I mean, we were just cranking out recruits left and right. And we had our best year in 2019, where we did about $20 million in premium that year, which is a tremendous amount of premium in the health insurance business. We had over 200 writing agents. It was a lot of fun. I will say that I should have, I made a lot of mistakes in this business over the years, right? And, looking back, exactly where what mistakes you made, right? You know exactly where, and they say, like, you either, what's the phrase? You either fail or you learn, right? When you have failure, right? And that's exactly what was that. I mean, I've learned a lot, right? So in 2019, we wrote, all the bit, more business than we ever had, and we slowed down, right? We slowed down. We went to a smaller model, a more in-house model. We took our foot off the gas. We stopped recruiting. But part of the reason was because I had a vision at that point. Okay, so come 2020, right? We're in the year of the pandemic, all right? And we had remember, I adopted the broker model in the health insurance space in 2014, 2015, right? That's when I became a broker, right? And now I'm spending my time recruiting and building an agency and supporting agents. So I'm rubbing shoulders with the biggest and the baddest dudes in this business, right? And all the carriers. And, I'm realizing that there is a massive need for healthcare advocacy, because when you take the posture with your clients that, I'm going to be your broker, right? I'm going to make sure that you have the right product today. And then every year moving forward, I'm going to make sure that you're enrolled in the right product. And anything you need to find a doctor, you need to submit a claim, right? We need to appeal a denied claim. You call me and I'm going to be your guy. I'm going to be your quarterback and I'm going to help you out. Well, you fast forward a couple of years after doing that, what's going to happen? Inevitably, you're going to be bogged down with customer service business, right? So we got to a point where we were spending our time at the home office doing more customer service work than we were selling new policies, right? And for a sales organization, that's a bad place to be in, but it's correctable. So we hired some customer service reps. And I like to say that I take some credit for, training, these customer service reps, but I would be lying if I said that I trained them fully, because they literally took that healthcare advocacy to a totally different level. I mean, some of the things that they do service wise when it comes to healthcare is incredible. From negotiating bills, right, to submitting price gouging complaints, to appealing claims. I mean, it's just tremendous. So at that point, I realized that we had a whole nother business, right? We were doing phenomenal things for people, service wise, that, we started to charge for that service. And so it started as an in-house agency service, right? We were doing an $8 a month fee to every policy that we sold. Us, our agents, any policy we sold included an $8 service fee. And eventually we hooked up with a programmer that developed an enrollment platform for us and a back office so we could track our clients, and track commissions and track cases, and run all our cases through it, and really build us a nice platform to operate through that. Now it became its own business, right? And that's when MediShield was born. Okay. And so we founded MediShield in 2021, I believe, is when we actually incorporated MediShield. But now we had founded the very first direct-to-consumer patient advocacy membership that was designed for the under 65 health insurance market. All right. And I built that up to about 5,000 members from 2020 to 2023, mid 2023. And in mid 2023, I was looking for an opportunity to exit. Okay. And I ended up selling MediShield to our technology partners in early 2024, which is a company called Vitify Health. And that's who owns it today. And the product is no longer called MediShield. It's now called VCare. And I still do some consulting for them. I'm a part of that organization. I work with the agents and agencies to get them onboarded and train the agents. And I'm a part of all the, the executive meetings over there. And I think MediShield's a little bit of a cooler name than VCare, but hey, it is what it is, right? But it's still operating. It's still doing great things for consumers in the health insurance market, and I'm very proud of it. That is still my baby project to this day. But after 2024, I took some time off, right? But as you can see, I went from agent to sales manager to partner of my firm, whatever that looked like right at the time, to agency owner, to then developing my own product, and then bringing other agencies and other independent agents on board to distribute that product. Right after I sold MediShield, I shut down the agency operations, and I took some much needed time off. To be honest with you, I worked with a couple other agencies in South Florida, to bring an under 65 health insurance platform to their, to their organization. I did the same. I've done the same for another organization since then. And, I just kind of, took some time to decide, what am I going to do? Well, what am I passionate about in this business, right? What I'm passionate about is supporting agents, right? Supporting agents and watching agents develop and training agents and seeing agents grow in this business and ultimately have success. I mean, that's what I am truly passionate about doing, right? So I have now developed Drew Scott Agency, and I've put together some courses. Ultimately, I will have 5 courses. Okay. Course 1 is the straight path to being a successful insurance agent. It's just literally, how do you have success in this business? Ignore all the noise, right? And get down to brass tacks. What is it that you need to know to go out and earn a living selling insurance, whether that's health insurance, life insurance? It's more designed for the health and life insurance, markets. I don't know much. I don't know anything about PNC, honestly, but I assume a lot of the principles are similar. So first course, straight path to becoming a successful insurance agent. Course number 2, expanding your portfolio. Course number 3, become a recruiter and a builder. And those 3 courses are ready to rock and roll as we speak. Course number 4 is build an agency, and course number 5 is develop a product. All right. So wherever you are in the business, we have a course for you. We offer coaching, right? I will provide, I offer one-on-one coaching. If you're somebody that, wants to go to one of those levels, right? Maybe you are having success as a producer and you want to build a team, right? And you don't know how to get started or what that looks like, right? I would love to work with you one-on-one and go through the nuts and bolts on what exactly you need to implement in your business to go out and recruit a massive team. We have technology available. All right. Technology, you got to have the right CRM today, right? Automation is huge. If you're not thinking about automation or you haven't implemented automation in your business yet, you are behind. All right. You have to implement automation. Okay. Remember, the money is in the follow-up, right? The money is in the follow-up. And gone are the days of you being able to just rip, 200 calls a day and staying organized enough to, follow up with people and on, right? Like it's doable, right? People have done it in the past, but why wouldn't you utilize technology when it's there and let the robots follow up and do all that for you? So we have the technology platform for that. Marketing services. I'll back up right on the technology. Also, you can integrate all your socials, right? You can, we run the courses through the technology. You can build courses through it. We run, you can run ads through it. You can, build funnels through it. I mean, it's totally endless, right? This piece of technology, this CRM is the best sales CRM on the market, hands down. Marketing services, websites, social marketing. The one thing that I'm high on right now is the AI marketing tools that we have available. We've got a few AI agents that are trained to reach out to your ideal client, to pitch your ideal customer, to get them on your calendar, to set the appointment for them, and to follow up with them and make sure that they show up, right? So we put those, we talk about who's your ideal customer, and then we unleash these 3 AI agents for them to just go out and attack that data for you. And that data ultimately ends up on your calendar and you go and close deals, right? So I'm really high on the AI technology that we have available right now through our marketing services. We have lead programs, right, with different vendors where you can purchase leads directly through Drew Scott Agency. We have contracts available, carrier contracts, all right, from everything from, and these are all direct contracts. So health contracts, ACA, private plans, Medicare, Advantage, supplements, group health contracts. We have life contracts, term, final expense, annuities, IULs. We've got all the contracts that you could possibly want. So if you're at a point where you want to expand your portfolio, we would love the opportunity to talk to you about how we could work with you on that. So Drew Scott Agency is a one-stop shop for you as an independent agent or as an agency that is looking to go to the next level. And whatever you need in your business, whether you need some coaching, or you need some you need some marketing help, or you need some leads, or you could use some contracts, right? um, reach out and let's see where we can help, where we can fit into your to your business plan moving forward. So the next step is to go to Drew Scott Agency Inc. All right, Drew Scott Agency Inc.com. All right, and you'll see you'll know where to go along the tabs along the top. Okay, whether you're interested in a course, or you're interested in some coaching or some contracts, or you need some marketing services. So, again, I appreciate you taking some time to hear about my story, and what the next chapter for me looks like. And I would absolutely love the opportunity to work with you moving forward, and hopefully be a part of some of your success in the insurance industry. So again, thank you.